Alright, IGN just posted their review about Resident Evil Requiem, and I wanted to watch it and post it on my channel and kind of just talk about it and go over some new things. And I have not watched it. I have no idea what we're going to see, so yeah, super excited. And I will be pausing it throughout the video, so keep in mind. But yeah, new information, and then they're just going to kind of give their whole score and review about the game. So, yep, here we go.
Get away! Get away from me!
Within the hallways of the sinister sanatorium where Resident Evil Requiem's opening hours take place lies some of the most frightening encounters I've experienced in the series to date. With my headphones on and the lights off, the ninth mainline adventure in Capcom's long-running survival horror saga forced me to endure moments so palpably tense and prolonged, I discovered muscles to clench that I didn't previously know I had. Hours later, I was no longer holding my breath, but holding my fist in the air instead, as I gleefully mowed down masses of undead meat sacks like it was D-Day in World War Z.
Let's go, dude. This looks so
In an
good.
effort to please both survival horror stalwarts and action horror advocates, Resident Evil Requiem runs the gore-soaked gamut from anxiety-inducing chills to trigger-happy thrills. The result is yet another supremely hair-raising horror story, despite the fact its most potent scares have all been delivered by the time it arrives at its more gloriously gung-ho second half.
He's just dotting everyone with that gun, man. Jeez.
Not unlike 2023's Alan Wake 2, Resident Evil Requiem initially focuses on a young FBI agent. In this case, series newcomer Grace Ashcroft, a fresh-faced analyst who's sent to investigate a series of mysterious deaths among the survivors of Raccoon City, several decades after the 1998 outbreak.
We found another body. One that exhibits the same pathology as the others we've been investigating.
Grace's flashlight-lit forensic search through the grimy insides of a shuttered hotel is ultimately short-lived, however, since she's soon ensnared by Victor Gideon, Requiem's main antagonist, whose menacing air, disgustingly disfigured face, and greasy goggles make him seem like some sort of steampunk Emperor Palpatine.
We have so much to do.
Victor traps Grace in the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, a Spencer Mansion-style labyrinth of locked doors crawling with all manner of flesh-eating freaks. But thankfully help is on the way in the form of uber-stylish series veteran Leon S. Kennedy.
Let's go!
Survival horror's preeminent himbo has clearly seen better days. The strange bruising on his skin suggests he's battling some sort of affliction potentially related to T-virus.
So yeah, I'm just really curious on how they're going to do the Leon infected, you know, and like what's going to happen through him throughout the main story. That's what I'm most interested in, because Leon's just such a... He's the most iconic character. I mean, come on, in these RE games, right? So it's just, I'm so interested to see what happens to him and to see if he gets like that happy ending, you know. I hope he does, right? But who knows? We'll see.
Exposure, while the shiny new Porsche he's driving implies he's also not immune to a midlife crisis. But it's Grace who is the standout here. Resident Evil characters have historically exhibited an overly campy quality that's injected a large dose of goofiness amidst the gore. But for my money, this inexperienced FBI agent is by far the most relatably human heroine the series has ever had. Her evolution from being perpetually on the brink of a panic attack to becoming self-assured enough to fight back made for a journey that I found as captivating as it was consistently creepy. Requiem allows us to alternate control between...
Okay, sorry. He is talking about on how scary this game is. I'm just going to let you guys know I'm so screwed for this game. Like, I'm going to be just screaming like a little girl. Like, it's going to be so bad, bro. I do not do well with, like, horror games like this, and this seems just like next level type stuff, so... Oh my god, I'm screwed.
Grace and Leon at specific story junctions over the course of its roughly 10-hour campaign. But it's the former whose predominantly stealth-based sections are undoubtedly the most...
sorry, I want to go back. He said something about the campaign.
Allows us to alternate control between Grace and Leon at specific story junctions over the course of its roughly 10-hour campaign. But it's the former...
10-hour campaign? No way. Is that true?
Whose predominantly stealth-based sections are undoubtedly the most fear-inducing. Underpowered and under constant threat from twisted stalker ghouls.
Okay, I don't know if he meant like something out like with one set like Grace's sections, but a 10-hour campaign? Is that true? There's no way. Okay, we gotta. All right, let's keep
that are
watching.
liable to descend from the rafters at any moment, Grace's efforts to escape from the terrors of Victor's hospital is a wonderfully stressful slab of unrelenting survival horror. There's precious little ammo to find, a miserly number of inventory slots to manage, and Grace moves at such a slow speed that it makes timing your careful crouch walk to avoid a prowling pack of zombies an exercise in pinpoint path making. All the while you have to puzzle through a stimulating series of body part based riddles and elaborately locked doors, never really knowing when you're going to turn a corner and come face to flabby face with a grotesquely girthy golem that's urgently squeezing its way down the hallway towards you. Nope. No thank you. I spent so much time trying to steer clear of the numerous considerable threats that on the occasions Grace was forced into a confrontations, the results really rattled me. When played in the default claustrophobic first-person perspective, her guns feel genuinely startling to fire and the impact of every precious pistol shot is immense. Bullets tear the festering flesh off zombie faces, leaving eyeballs to dangle from their stems. Yeah. And blood spatter paints the walls and persists even when you backtrack through the area later on.
Insane.
The gallons of gore that covers the floor isn't just there for spectacle, mind you, since Grace is equipped with a handy blood collector that allows her to syringe up the infected plasma pooling around zombie corpses, and combine it with other pieces of scrap to craft invaluable items like medkits and single-use hemolytic injectors. The latter can be jammed into the spine of an undead monster caught unaware, causing their entire body to swell up and explode in the most gloriously blood-soaked manner of stealth kill possible. But you can also use it to effectively dispose of a body you've downed previously.
Oh, dude.
I found that to be a smart
Brutal.
move in areas I knew I'd be revisiting, since Requiem zombies also have a terrifying tendency to reanimate and mutate when you least expect them to. Grace's quest only grows more intense as it takes her through the suffocating shadows of the hospital's basement and beyond, but moving through
great.
Requiem's danger-filled surroundings at a snail's pace didn't just keep my nerves on edge, it allowed me to observe and appreciate the efforts that Capcom has put into enhancing the eerie behaviour of its undead army. These are no longer the groaning, foot-dragging mouth breathers encountered during the original Raccoon City outbreak. Instead, they retain traces of humanity that somehow makes them seem far more unsettling than the more animalistic werewolves in Resident Evil Village. Like the ones that idly flick light switches on and off like bored toddlers, or the others that wander around muttering and laughing to themselves before suddenly collapsing to their knees to hungrily feast on.
I really like that. I think it's a really cool detail. Like, it gives the zombies more immersion, right? It gives them more, like, I don't know, like realism, right? It just makes them feel so much more like deadly. Not deadly, but like, I don't know, just like the realism, I guess, just more realistic. It's really cool. I love that detail.
The corpse of one of their former friends.
Yeah, that's gross. Jeez.
Mr. Kennedy, we need to leave immediately.
Beyond the professional, let's get it.
Some kind
Let's
of
get
mass
it.
hysteria.
While Grace's plight is a desperate and deliberate crawl that had me second-guessing every shadow, the ominous sounds of silence are shattered by the roar of ferocious ultraviolence when you switch control to Leon for what are initially brief tension-breaking bursts, as everyone's favourite former RCPD recruit attempts a not-so-subtle rescue mission. These levels default to a third-person view to really show off the slaughter, and within minutes of his arrival I'd slipped comfortably back into Resident Evil 4 mode, nailing headshots and ending the undead with effortless execution moves.
That's
To
so
my
sick,
surprise,
dude.
however, Requiem quickly pushes the insanity meter beyond Resident Evil 4 into dead-rising levels of delirium by allowing Leon to actually wield a chainsaw to carve through the zombie crowds. Leon's sections are up-tempo and gruesome to a degree that left me giddy, and almost every major zombie Leon dispatches is met with a delightfully deadpan dad joke.
I think I want a second opinion.
Yes,
Where Grace
sir.
must use the scarce amounts of scrap in her surroundings to make her own rapidly destructible knives, Leon is toting a powerful hatchet that can be easily maintained with an everlasting flint.
Oh,
While
the
Grace has to
crunch.
carefully count each
So
round in her
brutal.
small handful of handguns, Leon enjoys an extensive bevy of teeth-rattling boomsticks from beefy shotguns to head-splitting sniper rifles. Plus, if Leon gets bored of his own weapons, he can use someone else's. After killing a zombie who drops a fire axe or lead pipe, He has the option to smoothly scoop it up and launch it at another enemy nearby, which is every bit as slick
That
and
is
satisfying
cool.
as the similar sword-flinging feature of last year's Ghost of Yotei.
I was just gonna say that. Like, there's like just
Simply
like
put,
Ghost of Yotei.
there's no off position on Leon's ass-kicking switch. And in addition to his surging slaughter of zombie hordes, it's also within Leon's levels that the bulk of Requiem's appropriately epic boss encounters take place. There are plenty of colossal clashes to be found here, from brand new behemoths to brilliantly reimagined threats from previous Resident Evil stories. And there isn't a single Del Lago-sized dud among them. I particularly loved how this hulking nasty subverted my expectations of how a Resident Evil boss fight should play out. Sure, being tasked with blasting the glowing weak points that cover a marauding monster's torso is nothing
Oh
new.
my, look at that
That is,
thing.
until you realise that while piercing each swollen blister does inflict damage to the beast, it also spews streams of infection onto the zombie underlings around him, instantly mutating them into brawnier forms of backup for you to contend with.
Oh,
Leon may be
yeah.
armed to the teeth, but that doesn't mean Requiem doesn't still find creative ways to ramp up the challenge. Playing as Leon is such a consistently violent delight that it's a little disappointing that the Mercenaries mode isn't a feature of Requiem after its welcome inclusion in 2021's Resident Evil
Oh,
Village.
no.
Come on, Capcom. You're going to give me a version of Leon who can violently split skulls with a hatchet and do a lumbering Leatherface impersonation with a swinging chainsaw, and you're not going to allow me to unleash him in a score-chasing time attack mode? Here's hoping it will be patched in as a post-launch addition
Yeah, I was
like
just
the
gonna
free
say,
update that Capcom
maybe they drop that later, right? It's like a later patch or whatever. That makes
eventually
sense.
provided for the Resident Evil 4 remake. As much as I love Leon though, I do wonder if perhaps his sections become a bit too dominant once Requiem settles into a more action-oriented groove in its second half, as the story moves beyond the grounds of Rhodes Hill and deep into what remains of Raccoon City. Let me be clear, Resident Evil 4 is my personal favourite installment in the series, so it certainly gave me a great deal of pleasure to once again wield a military-grade arsenal and pull off skull-shattering finishing moves as the series' hunkiest mutant murderer. But after playing almost exclusively as Leon through a roughly 5-hour stretch towards Requiem's conclusion,
Oh my
I did
gosh.
find myself yearning for a few more
Just
tastes
drop
of
kicking
Grace's
everybody.
superbly nerve-shredding stealth sections as a more regular change-up from Leon's comparatively scare-free carnage. That desire was eventually gratified to some extent by a terrifyingly taut late-game tiptoe through a facility crawling with some truly menacing monsters returning from the series' past. But given that the story ended soon afterwards, my overriding impression of Requiem that it was very much a game of two halves. The former predominantly a slow and steady scare-a-thon, and the latter largely a run-and-gun splatterfest. I very much enjoyed both flavours in their own right. I just wish for the sake of its pacing that they'd been blended together a touch more over the full course of the journey. Instead, Requiem is a bit like ordering a whiskey and coke, and having it served in two separate glasses instead of being mixed into one.
That's kind of how I was saying in my previous video. Like, I think the Grace and Leon sections are obviously going to be so different. And so people, when they go from like Leon to Grace, they're going to be like, oh, now I got to play as Grace. Like, it's going to be slow and no action, no crazy, just mayhem like he's saying in the video, right? So that was kind of my probably one of the biggest concerns of the game. Like, how are they really going to put these two protagonists in the game and blend them together, right? And he's saying it's like a whiskey and a Coke. It's not a bad example, but I mean, yeah. So I can understand what he's saying, you know. So we'll see.
To be fair, Grace's absence from a significant stretch of Requiem is justified within the context of its story, and overall it's a tale that gripped me harder than a zombie nurse gnawing on my nose. There are a number of blindsiding
That's
twists that cast
disgusting.
new light on the origins of the Umbrella Corporation and the ambitions of its founder, along with an excellent mix of zombie-riddled locations both fresh and familiar to puzzle and pummel your way through, and plenty of vital notes to collect along the way. Some of these memos are crucial to understanding the intriguing mystery behind Grace's abduction and the truth about her past, while others are just genuinely funny gags to help ease the tension. After encountering a specific zombie type in one medical wing that was obnoxiously singing at the top of her lungs, I got a good laugh out of uncovering a doctor's report that had diagnosed her with main character syndrome.
That's fun.
There's also one particularly iconic location that Leon explores that I'm reluctant to spoil here. But it's jam-packed with fun Easter eggs that made it a real thrill to revisit, as someone who's been enjoying Resident Evil adventures ever since the T-Virus made its first outbreak on a black bottom CD for the original PlayStation.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is... Who's there?
Like the result of an experiment conducted in an underground Umbrella Corporation lab, Resident Evil Requiem successfully splices two separate strains of survival horror together into the one highly infectious new mutation. It signals the return of a series legend and the arrival of a likable new lead, amps up the gore to a new stomach-turning standard, and unleashes a scarier breed of zombie alongside some truly beastly boss fights. The lack of any meaningful side content like the Mercenaries mode is a touch disappointing, and I do wonder if a slightly more consistent balance could have been struck with the ebb and flow from jaw-clenching moments of tension to all-out assault, rather than front-loading the story with frights before giving way to a more bullet-riddled back half. Even so, from my first trembling steps into its shadows all the way to the tremendous Titan-sized takedown at its climax, Resident Evil Requiem kept me completely absorbed and consistently entertained.
There you go. Look at that. A 9. I said it. Like, I think a lot of this, I think on Metacritic too, it was like a 8.9 or something like that. I pretty much nailed it there on my last video. I talked about it, and yeah, no, I'm not shocked. Amazing 9. That's great. Glad this game got it, because it looks like it's going to really deserve it.
All hair raising or all guns blazing. For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on God of War Sons of Sparta.
So yeah, that's it. What a review. That was a really good review by IGN. I really liked it. They definitely showed some new stuff. I didn't think they went crazy with spoiling anything too crazy, but the one thing that he said was like, of the game being 10 hours long, it kind of like stuck in my head throughout the entire video. I was like, 10 hours long. I was like, what? So I'll have to go back in it and you know, check later, because like I was like, what? 10 hours? That doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I mean, this review was awesome. IGN did a good job, I think, and was showing some new stuff as well. Looked really good, but it wasn't like anything like major spoilers or anything like that. Just some new gameplay clips and just a tiny bit of new areas. So I'm really glad they showed that stuff off, because it looked really, really good. But yeah, they gave it a 9. I nailed it with my last video talking about it, how it was probably going to be a 9. Like, I wasn't expecting anything below a 9, and I would be shocked if it did get below a 9, and I was right. I nailed it. But yeah, this game looks really, really good. I'm so excited. It literally releases tomorrow for me on PC, so like at 11 o'clock at night. So it's going to be a late one and a scary one for sure. But yeah, I'm just very excited to see. And also, just I was talking about this earlier, just to see how they're going to do the two protagonists, you know, Leon and Grace. How are they going to mold these two protagonists into the game and make them fuse together, right? Make them like just make them smooth, so you're not going from one character and the other and be like, oh my gosh, this sucks. It's so slow, right? But you can definitely see Grace's scenes are going to be, you know, slow, like the OG Resident Evil, like, you know, not OG, but, you know, Biohazard, where you're kind of sneaking around a little bit, you know, and stealthy, and Leon's just full action, right? So two really different play styles, but yeah, it's going to be really cool. I can't wait for this game, man. It's just looking so good. So excited for tomorrow. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.